Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the What If Wrestling Podcast, where we explore the hypothetical scenarios that could have changed the course of professional wrestling history. Today, we're talking about CM Punk. What if CM Punk had not left in 2014? I'm Glenn Thomas, always with me, the wizard himself, nephew Corey. What's up, wizard?
Hey, what's going on? Good day. Hey, perfect day to talk about this with the news coming out about CM Punk. So, good topic.
And my main man, Champ Creed. Champ, what's going on, brother?
8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 Central.
Oh, man. CM Punk, Wizard, if you mind giving us a little backdrop of CM Punk drop, leaving the WWE in 2014 with some abrupt notice.
So, 2014, January 2014, Royal Rumble. I actually was at, it's funny. I was actually at that event. I've seen Punk's last WWE match. He was in the Royal Rumble. He actually started at number 1, I believe. Was he one? Well, him and Seth Rollins started. I can't remember if Punk was 1 and Seth was 2, or if Seth was 1 and Punk was 2. I can't remember, but they started it. Nonetheless, Punk, he is eliminated, has some creative differences and some injuries, and he leaves. Time goes by, and he's really at this point completely removed from the company. And come June or July of that same year, from all accounts that everybody's been saying, he was fired on his wedding day to AJ Lee, and he pretty much he's never coming back at that point. He also gets into a situation with his ex-best friend, Cole Cabana, and he's just, everything with Punk is just going left and right, everything but straight at that point. Punk later returns in 2019, not to WWE, but WWE programming, in the sense that he is a consultant on the WWE Backstage show that was on Fox. And he is an employee of Fox on the WWE show, so he's not employed by WWE. That show is then canceled due to the pandemic, but that pretty much kind of summed up Punk's very short-lived quote-unquote WWE return, per se, but Punk's exit in 2014 was it was very telling. It was almost as if everything that he had dropped the pipe bomb on 3 years earlier or so, in a sense, in his eyes, a lot of that was coming into fruition, and he was at a point where he just didn't want to be there anymore, and it's exactly what he did. He left.
Yeah, he definitely left, and that Royal Rumble match, just to go back, but he was number 1 in the Royal Rumble match. He didn't make it all the way to the end, if I recall. He ended up getting a concussion in the middle of the match.
Yeah.
Ended up getting a concussion in the middle of the match where they had to kind of change his exit out of the match in the Royal Rumble. But a lot of this stuff, is a great timeline. A lot of it leading up to 2014. Punk had been going through a lot in the WWE. Before he even got to 2014, he had went through a lot of stuff, right? You think about when when Triple H comes back in 2011, Punk Triple H come back to the corporate official when Triple H comes back, which kind of affects Punk title run, or Punk's momentum that he had, because Triple H came back. I think Punk was champion for 434 days?
Yep.
He became champion for 431 days. And during that 434 days, he really didn't main event a lot of the pay-per-views, right? that was going on. Cena was still on the top.
He main evented no pay-per-views until he lost it.
Right. So you figure, he's as champion for 434 days. CM Punk didn't main event any pay-per-views.
That's crazy.
You had the Rock main event, and you had John Cena main event, which made Punk believe that he was never on that tier of John Cena, The Rock.
Yeah, I saw something about that recently, G,
Right.
and Champ, that Punk, I forgot about it until I saw it. Punk and Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship took a backseat to John Cena versus John Laurinaitis at Over the Limit.
Wow.
Yeah, in 2012. Yep.
So as being a champion, he felt like he was getting slapped in the face.
Yeah, actually, and I'm thinking now, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, the only I'm trying to remember, did he main event that? G, you might may or may not remember the TLC you came up for in Baltimore. Did his match go on last or no?
No, his match didn't go on last for that TLC. No, I don't think.
What went on last at that pay-per-view then? I'm trying to remember.
Was that 2013?
No, it was 2011.
2011.
I'm looking it up now. Keep talking. I'm looking it up.
So as you get those, we got to continue to talk about how CM Punk, even with Cena in 2012, Cena again was the headliner at Elimination Chamber, right? It was John Cena and Kane in the ambulance match that was hired and hired in CM Punk, and he's the champion, right? Which again, I'm the champion of the company. Right, we're the champion of the company, and you can't even get the headline of the pay-per-view. And you work hard to become the champion. You work hard to be the number one guy in the company. You drop the pipe bomb, right? And you want to be the head of the company, and you can't even be there. You can't even be
there. He did. That was the only pay-per-view he main evented as champion up until Rumble 2013. TLC 2011. Was the triple threat match in the TLC match, and I was like, I think he did main event, and he did. So he beat Miz and Alberto Del Rio in a triple threat TLC match, and that was the last pay per view he main evented. It was his first title defense on pay per view as champion, because he only won it the month before,
right?
And even then, that wasn't the main event either. It was Rock and Cena versus Miz and Truth at Survivor Series was the main event for that pay per view. And then Punk gets it he main events 2011's TLC, and then he doesn't main event again until Royal Rumble 2013.
But
what were we saying?
Not, but because his title runs had bad luck. You think about it. In he even turned heel. I think it was the 1000th episode of Raw. 1000th episode of Raw. He turned heel on The Rock, just so he can get some heat, just so the fans, like a switch change, right? We need to get something, so let him turn heel on the great one, on The Rock.
Right, and he didn't even main event that next summer. SummerSlam was right after that in 2012, and I believe the main event was that. I think that was Triple H and Lesnar. I think was the main event of that.
Right, and then there was rumors that Vince told him to go heel because they needed to get some burn with The Rock. They want The Rock to be the face, and then Vince told him. The story goes that Vince said he owed him one, right? That he owes him one, and then here come bad luck again because later on it was him and Cena, I believe, in Hell in a Cell. Then Cena gets the arm surgery.
Right. Yep, and so he has to deal with Ryback.
Didn't
Ryback hurt him?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so Ryback ended up hurting him in that match, and he was never the same again.
I know Punk. Punk. I can't remember for sure if Ryback was the complete cause, so I can't completely blame him for that. But I know Punk had some injuries. I know he had had some bad run-ins or so with Ryback in the ring, but I don't know if Ryback injured him to where he was completely out. Yeah.
In my notes I was doing some research on him. Punk in an interview, he said that match took 20 years off his life.
Yeah, now that I've heard.
Yeah, I'm doing some. He said that took 20 years off his life because Ryback wasn't ready. Because
I know I do know towards the end of that year, Punk was out with like an ankle or a hip or something like that. So it was a lower body injury because I remember him being on crutches for a good month, and then he was he didn't wrestle again, I think, until him and Rock at the Rumble. So
right, but the thing about that though is they still didn't take the title off of him.
Yeah, sure didn't.
He was hurt, whether it was I think a knee, ankle, or something like that. He still kept the title. You know, and that was one of the things that was interesting. This guy's getting this long title run in the company, but the company's still dropping doo-doo on him. Think about it. You're the champion because they don't want to give it to nobody else. They don't want Cena doing other things. He's in and out, whatever case may be. He had the injury, as we mentioned, right? Punk's the best next thing, and they still not putting you in the top billing.
That's crazy. I didn't even think about that.
You're not the top dog, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they tell you, okay, then when you do get there, you got to drop the title to The Rock.
Right.
Yeah. He got a bad Punk.
He got a raw deal, man.
He got a raw deal. He did.
You know, some people are like, why is Punk so angry? Like, he's angry.
Nah, you can see.
I would be angry too, man. But the one thing I do want to say about this, and you alluded to it earlier, like, what if CM Punk stayed, right?
Mm-hmm.
We won't have a yes movement. Because if he still has the belt and he's staying, what does that do for WrestleMania 30?
No. So I can touch on that a little bit. And I can only, speculate based on what was going on at that time period.
Right.
For all intents and purposes, for what's gone around, and part of the frustration from what has been said, a rumor milled around at that time period, Punk was scheduled to face Triple H at WrestleMania.
Right.
And Daniel Bryan wasn't going to be in the title picture. I think it was supposed to be Orton and Batista straight up for the championship at WrestleMania 30. I think Punk advocated for Daniel Bryan. Basically, Daniel Bryan is put into the Punk role of facing Triple H. However, the Yes Movement gets so much traction, he's also added to the main event. The Yes Movement, I think, happens, and the reason why I say that, Champ, is because Yes Movement was pretty much in full effect by 2013. Punk's still there.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah, Punk's still there. So, and remember, that Rumble, people were pissed because Bryan wasn't in the Rumble. So the revolt or the wheels are already starting to become in motion for the Yes Movement. I will say I'll respectfully disagree. I think the Yes Movement happens whether Punk's there or not. Yeah. To the magnitude of what we get it, I don't know. But I think the fans do revolt to get solely behind Bryan at that point. Because even that when they did the title unification in December, Champ, with Orton and Cena in the ladder match, when Daniel Bryan was, basically the Seattle crowd hijacked that whole segment with all the champions.
Yes.
And they would, So the Yes Movement's in full effect by then, in my opinion. It is.
So we got to CM Punk coming in there, and one of the last one leading up to 2014 that I think really set Punk off, in my opinion. And fans listening may be mad, but I want y'all to check it out. Punk really had a gripe. What was it, WrestleMania 29? Was it 29? 29 was when he wrestled Undertaker, right? Yeah. Punk thought he should have won.
That's it. Yep.
That was to me, that was the straw that broke the camel's back, because Punk thinking, how can this guy who's old, who can barely move? If you remember 28, right? I think 28 was when Taker got carted out.
Yeah.
Right.
He carted out
27.
27. Yeah. I remember we was there. 27. He got carted out in Atlanta. 27, he get carted out. He can barely move.
Wait, that's when he went up against Triple H, right?
Yeah.
Taker, yeah. Okay.
The first parentheses second time.
Yeah.
But
so
I
Punk
will say though,
like, why am I facing
G?
The match stole the show, but he's like, Punk should, in theory, in all essence, I know everybody was in love with the streak. and everybody loved the streak at the time, right? We wanted to see Taker get to the magical number and all that stuff. But it should have been Punk who ended the streak the year before Brock did. And I think that made him really.
I'm going to disagree with that one. I Punk's.
No, I'm just saying because you look at 44-year-old guy.
Punk's gripe to me.
No, you good.
What were you saying?
No, you good.
I was just going to say I kind of disagree. Yeah, I was going to say I kind of disagree with that in the sense that I feel as though Punk's gripe to me, and I could be totally wrong, but it seems like to me, his gripe was more so that it didn't main event than anything else. Because the only other I owe you one, if that Punk gets for dropping the title to Rock, is like you said, either he gets the streak, but I'm thinking the OU one is Punk and Taker main event. Or at least Punk, either that or Punk is part of the Rock and Cena match that it becomes a triple threat.
Yeah, which they weren't going to do that because of the magnitude of the first one.
Yeah, but I think the first one served its purpose, though, G. The once in a lifetime served its purpose. It should have been once in a lifetime in the logic that it's Cena versus Rock one-on-one. Punk could have went in as champion at WrestleMania. I think he could have in main event.
But why he doesn't go in is what makes him disgruntled. The company's not putting the money behind him. We don't think you can sell the tickets for WrestleMania. To me, that's what it says.
That's what it translates.
What it translates to,
yeah, it does.
Forced into a corner to do something like that with a smaller guy.
Yeah, It tells me we need to Rock back because your 383 days really don't mean nothing. That's why you can't go into WrestleMania as champion.
Yeah, but if that's the case, though, yeah, latch him with Rock and Cena, and if that's the case, I fully believe he could have made event at Mania.
Oh, I think he could. I think he had the steam from the fan standpoint. He had the steam, right? From the fan standpoint, he had everything he needed to get there. But from the management and from Vince McMahon's standpoint,
yeah, the management didn't have faith in him.
Management didn't have faith in him. The management had more faith in a Rock Cena 2, right? Had more faith in a Rock Cena 2 than they had in the CM Punk, Rock, and Cena because they realized Rock's still a big name. It was good for the return.
Right.
Rock's a big name, good for the return. Cena's still up and cut. He's still the household. He's the man, right? And it was good.
Yeah, Cena's in his prime at this point.
Right. He's in his prime. So we throw Punk in there. Is it an ego hit for both of these guys? Is it an ego hit?
They got their main event the year before. No. Punk is the champion. Punk has already been champion for 400 some odd days by then.
That is
let him get his Mania.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I totally agree, but I see why he's mad. I can't even get to main event of WrestleMania.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like the year before, Punk and Jericho already gets usurped by Rock and Cena, which it is what it is. That's planned a year in advance. We know that's the main event. Can't be mad at that one. But he's mad that he couldn't even get a main event pay-per-view. And then you couldn't even. You could have afforded to let him go into Mania as champion. I mean, I know you want to give Rock that one rub of him getting the championship. And I know his schedule doesn't dictate for him to do it. But even if Rock loses, not Rock, even if Punk loses the championship to Rock at Royal Rumble, there's no reason you can't have Punk in that main event with them in a triple threat.
Right. Oh, I agree with you on that. So It just shows to me. It just shows Vince didn't have confidence. So we get past 2013. We get to Punk leaving. Now we talk about what if CM Punk stayed. Let's say Punk's happy, right? And we all this.
That's the biggest what if in the history of wrestling. What if Punk is happy? That man ain't never happy.
But what we just did for the listeners is we built up why he wasn't happy in 2014. So let's say all that stuff has changed, right? And Punk is now happy in 2014, champ. We're gonna go with you. 2014, Punk is happy, right? Punk is good in the company. Everything is going well. In your eyes, right? Where does it go? How does CM Punk? How does WWE change if, say, they have a happy CM Punk going into 2014 after being champion for 434 days? How does it change?
I don't think that it's dependent upon him being happy. I just don't. Triple H never liked him, right? Vince never thought he was a very valuable commodity. And I'm even going to admit this. I really didn't see what was so special about the guy. Like coming back, I think y'all mentioned it was WrestleMania 27 or 28 was in Atlanta.
27.
So that's when I came back in after being gone for a very, very long time.
Right.
And I saw his match against Orton, right? Now I've remembered seeing him, like, if I'm channel surfing or something. My younger brother was more into like Daniel Bryan and Punk and like some of the smaller guys, but I never really, like, if you tell me, hey Keith, Vince doesn't think this guy is going to be a main eventer to sell tickets to move the needle or whatever. He's good, but Vince doesn't believe him. I'll look at you and go, okay, I agree with Vince, because I didn't see it. Now, if he's still there, there's only but so many spots at the top. And if the Yes movement is in full steam, then Daniel Bryan has that to his advantage. And I think Punk actually gets moved down the card.
At what point in time? In 2014 at that point?
2014. If we're in 2014, Punk stays, he does not retire. Where do we see Daniel Bryan?
So WrestleMania 30 was in 2014, right?
Yes.
Daniel Bryan becomes champion. I'd say you probably have Punk versus Bray Wyatt or something like that. I think
Punk's okay with that at that time, though. Because I think part of the problem was that Punk didn't see why Daniel Bryan was not in the main event. And I think that was one of his issues, is that he should have been going against Punk didn't feel like a match with him and Triple H and then Randy Orton and Batista straight up worked. Because Daniel Bryan wasn't being factored in anywhere, realistically. Daniel Bryan at best was probably going to have an Intercontinental title match or something, and that's it.
Right.
And that was beneath him at that point, because he was clearly on the path to being like the hottest star at that time. Which sucks that he got hurt when he did, because it almost put WWE in a situation like a aha or a gotcha. Like,
right.
You were wrong, because look what happened to your guy that you wanted to be champion.
Right.
Which sucked. But I mean, it's with Punk, like I said, I always kind of side with Punk with that he should have been factored into the main event of WrestleMania 29. He should have. I think Taker could have fought you could have put anybody else in that situation. And that's not taken away from Taker. Taker is a main event of WrestleMania. It is. But like what Punk was looking for, logistically, it was not the end of WrestleMania. It was not the main event on the card. So I get it. I'd be mad if I was him too. I really would.
Right. And you know what? I just think that I just really don't see. I mean, I know we have a couple other questions, but I don't see a happy CM Punk. I see the momentum of his contemporaries picking up, especially with the way things shook out at Mania 30. I kind of see him riding out his, and then I don't see them like giving him a push because wasn't his contract ending in like a year or something?
It could have been. He was at a situation where he took a break after Mania 29 anyway.
Right.
And he wasn't being positioned on the card, at least from when he came back, when he fought Brock, throughout the rest of his time that he was there. He wasn't being positioned exactly in a sense of the card. He was still top billing, but he wasn't in any championship position.
Right.
And rightfully so, because Daniel Bryan was in championship position at that point. And I think Punk's okay with that. I think what it is that I think part of Punk leaving, and really only he can truly answer that, but I think part of Punk leaving is that he wanted Daniel Bryan in a better position and they weren't reading the writing on the wall. Like it took Punk leaving almost in a martyr type situation
for them to get the picture.
To say, man, this Daniel Bryan thing really has legs. Like, we better just ride with it.
Right.
But does he get another shot? So if he doesn't get eliminated in that Royal Rumble, because we got to go to 2014, the Royal Rumble, if he doesn't get a concussion in the Royal Rumble, he had already been in there for 50 minutes. Is he one of the final four? Because we know that's the one Batista wins. So you figure the final four would be Batista, let's say CM Punk stays, then CM Punk, Roman, and I can't remember who the third guy was. Was it Kane?
Kane. That's the four. I think Kane. Seth's eliminated right before that.
Right.
But the four, realistically, in my opinion, which you just named, I think is Batista, Roman, Punk, and Kane. And I think the Authority eliminates Kane. I mean, not Kane. The Authority helps to eliminate Punk to set up Punk and Triple H. It's probably Triple H that comes out there himself and helps Kane eliminate Punk, and that gets you set up for Punk and Triple H at Mania.
So wait, hold on. So who had the belts in that on that pay-per-view?
Orton was still
Orton was still champion.
Okay. So and Orton, he carried it to Mania, right?
Mania. Because that's when Daniel Bryan, because they had to do a triple threat with Triple H. Well, not triple threat. He had to beat Orton. Yeah, triple threat. Yeah, had to beat Orton and Triple H to win, have his moment.
Yeah, he beat Triple H in the beginning of the night to get into the triple threat match with Batista and Orton. The winner of that match, because the way they were spinning it storyline wise, Triple H was going to have an Evolution main event. It was going to be Triple H versus Orton versus Batista for the WWE Championship.
Right. So if Punk stays, he throws a monkey wrench in that plan because you have CM Punk and Triple H.
Here's the thing, exactly. And I think if Punk stays, like I said earlier, which I believe was probably one of Punk's gripes, Daniel Bryan's never factored into that.
No. And the co-main event is CM Punk Triple H, and the main event is Randy Orton Batista.
Yep.
At Mania.
Yep.
Oh God! And it's Punk versus Bray Wyatt.
No, you mean Daniel Bryan versus Bray? Well, here's the thing: Daniel Bryan had already lost to Bray Wyatt clean at the Rumble.
Right.
So it's like so that's what I was saying is that I think Daniel Bryan's already kind of factored out of things. The only saving grace, which we can never really truly point out, is if WWE would have listened to the fans revolting and wanting Daniel Bryan in the main event.
Yeah. Because you also got to remember, even when Punk left, WWE thought he was going to come back.
Yeah.
They didn't believe he had really, just walked out on the company.
Mm-hmm.
So
before WrestleMania.
Because we talked about it on the show. Hey, how you walk out close to you're gonna get a payday, you're gonna come back. This is going on, this is happening. Everybody was because Vince called it what? Vince called it a sabbatical. Vince didn't say he was fired. They said it was sabbatical.
Hey, when did Sting show up?
November 2014.
November 2014. But by that time, Punk had already left. Remember,
if you were already fired by then.
He was fired by them. But if you remember,
the what if is if he didn't leave, right?
Oh yeah. What if he didn't leave?
So if he doesn't leave, let's say he's on the shelf, you get Punk versus Sting.
If he doesn't leave that March show in Chicago, March 3rd, when everybody was screaming his name, it would have been one of the biggest shows there is if he doesn't leave.
But you got to match him up against somebody where you can use him. You know what I mean? Because everyone else, it seems like they've already had their storylines in their past. Even if you pull Daniel Bryan from the main event in 30, there's other things that you can do with him. But if you're bringing in Sting, you don't have to force. Who was it? It was Hunter and Sting.
Yeah, Mania in San Fran.
Yeah. You don't have to force that. What you do is you insert Punk in there because he don't have nothing else better to do.
Right. But what I'm saying about the March thing is, if he stays around in March when they go to Chicago, remember that's leading up to WrestleMania. That blows the roof off that building with the feud with him and Hunter. Because remember, because Hunter has our hypothetical is that Hunter cost him WrestleMania, the Royal Rumble. Sorry, his WrestleMania bid. And Hunter takes him out at
No, I don't even think they get in the same ring because that was nasty between them. I don't even think they could do business with each other.
If leading to WrestleMania, man, they will do business.
Wait, who was this again? Not doing business?
Hunter and Punk.
I think Punk does, but I'm going to disagree with you, Chad. I think Punk does business at that point. I don't think there's ever a situation where I know they hate each. It was bad. It was bad.
Mm-hmm.
I think I do hold Punk as high enough of a professional that he would do business with Hunter, even if and I think Hunter is the same way. I think they would do business with each other. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with Hunter being in a legitimate real life position of power at that point. I think it doesn't look good for Hunter not to do business with somebody from a talent standpoint, but yet he's in talent relations at that point.
And you said Sting got there November 2014?
Yeah, so Punk had already been fired about 3-4 months by then. So Sting isn't even in the equation. If you do Punk, I'll say this. I'll retract.
Because you got to bring him back.
Huh?
Because you got to bring him back against somebody.
Yeah, but you know what, though? I think Punk, I'll say this, G, and I think I'll retract something from earlier. I do think Punk is in the title picture at that point. If Punk doesn't leave in Rumble 2014 and sticks around and does business and WrestleMania goes as planned, the main factor of this, which is weird, we're talking about Punk, but Daniel Bryan really is the factor in all of this. That where do they go with his push in relation to Punk staying? Because if Daniel Bryan stays, I do think Punk eventually gets the championship. And hear me out. The what if is that, or the answer to the what if, I think Punk is the one that gets it off of either Batista or Orton, whoever comes out of Mania. And I think Punk is the one that drops it ultimately to Daniel Bryan.
At which event?
SummerSlam, maybe?
SummerSlam 2014?
Yeah.
It still gives Daniel Bryan a big moment. He doesn't get the WrestleMania moment, but he does get a big pay-per-view moment.
Or it goes to WrestleMania. Or it goes to Mania in San Francisco.
Right. 14.
But then, so does Seth cash in?
Here's the problem. Herein lies the problem. Herein lies the problem. That's so funny you get to that, because now here's the trickle-down effect. Does the Shield ever break up? Because the Shield may not break up at this point because you don't have a spot for Roman or Seth right now or Dean Ambrose, with all of them being broken up. I think Punk leaving is a true catalyst that you get so many of these other things happening. You get Daniel Bryan's title run. You get and also with Daniel Bryan's injury, you then need new fresh faces on the roster. You get Roman and Dean and Seth because of Punk being gone. And Punk being gone, Daniel being injured. You need new faces. Roman was already on that trajectory anyway,
Right.
but it was a matter of when they pulled the trigger.
Right.
Because Roman, if you look at it, Roman probably doesn't win the 2015 Rumble. At that point, Daniel Bryan probably wins the 2015 Rumble.
Yeah.
And so, okay, Keith, there you go. That's where you get your Daniel Bryan yes movement. Because you asked that at the beginning of the show.
Right.
The yes movement carries through the entire 2014 year instead of it being hot-shotted at Mania.
And then
it carries through to the next year.
That makes sense. I can live with that.
Yeah, and he wins the Rumble he was supposed to win the year before. He finally went. And dare I say, you talk about mega push, I could easily see them doing, especially with them trying to kind of erase as much with Benoit as possible. Daniel Bryan wins from number 1.
So basically, if CM Punk stays, it just delays Bryan Danielson's moment just for 1 year.
Yeah, and dare I say, him and Punk are boys. Punk probably is more than willing and wanting to do the honors for Bryan and put him over at Mania. Punk gets his main event. Punk passes it on to somebody he knows is deserving of the championship.
Right.
And he can get a break or ride off to whatever he wants to do.
And well, then he fought in UFC the next year. So he would leave and he could do that.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to give you guys another what if with the CM Punk, right? And this is because we know, and I have to go back to this one, the what if that I really thought about talking about what if CM Punk stays is it has to do with his wife. Because what happens is they get married, he gets to take time off. We know that she stays in the company. Remember? She stays in the company after he leaves. After he rides off to the sunset.
Yeah, so, I think she's super intelligent. I think she knows at that point. I mean, I'm not speaking for her. I'm only speaking out of my mindset. I think she knows she's not in a position to just leave like that.
Correct. What I'm saying, if he stays, she gets a longer run. Her star goes higher. AJ Lee was the top woman in WWE in April 2015. She was the top dog. She was the poster girl for the women's division. If Punk stays happy with the company and the storyline that you guys bring out, AJ Lee stays. She's around for the Sashas coming up, the Charlottes, the Baileys, the Beckys.
Yeah.
She's involved in that storyline. And I dare not say AJ Lee might still be in the company to this day. We may running and being a major part of the women's division. If CM Punk stays in 2014. So it didn't just really affect him. It really kind of affects the women's division with CM Punk leaving. CM Punk caused a big ripple effect in WWE when he left. But the women's division would have changed dramatically.
I can. You know what? I give you that, G. That's actually a very good point. AJ Lee sticking around does wonders for the women's revolution or whatnot, because at that point AJ Lee and also you gotta wonder what if there's a whole bunch of what ifs in that. What if Paige doesn't get hurt?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's like
that's opening up Pandora's box.
You have AJ, Paige, Becky, Sasha, Charlotte, and Bailey. Well, not Bailey yet, but you have all those people up there. And I mean, my goodness, the match, AJ Lee and Sasha, like you're getting that like immediately. Like, there's a lot. No, that's a great point, G. That but at the same token, though, even though AJ's the top girl in like 2015 or whatnot, she was, but she wasn't, because they already and a lot of people pointed out, even back then, it looked like they were kind of taking a shot or a dig at Punk because, AJ drops the belt to Nikki Bella.
Right.
That was in 2014.
Yeah, but I just thought when that Nikki Bella drop, to me, I always thought that was politics because Cena was sleeping with her. Just my opinion. They had the reality show on E.
Yeah.
That was my reason why they dropped it to her. Not that she was better than AJ. It was that it was more for the E Entertainment reality business and the Cena business more so than AJ Nikki being the face of the company.
Right. But remember the way AJ dropped it too. It was real, like, it was kind of in a sense that it was almost like a dig. And that's not a dig on Nikki Bella or Brie, but they were running that storyline that Brie was, Nikki's slave or whatever. And then all of a sudden, they just punk AJ out and AJ loses the championship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of that had to do with Punk.
I think that's what I'm saying. That's what I think. Yeah. I really think that was a subliminal dig at Punk in a way that, okay, because then Nikki goes on and as if AJ, AJ's record run didn't mean anything. AJ, her longest Divas Championship run is erased literally by the next person. They waste no time with that.
Right. Again, a dig for Punk, but if Punk stays, you don't have that movement. In my belief, you don't have that her losing to Nikki.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah. I don't think Nikki ever touches the belt from them.
Mm-mm. Because remember when after Nikki transitioned, if I'm not wrong, that's when it went into Charlotte, Sasha,
right.
So the natural transition, and like you said earlier, if Paige doesn't get hurt, the transition is now you're dealing with your quote unquote real wrestlers. And I'm not saying Nikki's not a real wrestler. She's in the Hall of Fame, but you know what I mean. It goes into your AJ Lee's.
It just goes a different route. It does go a different. I agree with that. It goes a different route.
It goes a different route. It doesn't go to Nikki Bella. It goes to maybe a Charlotte. It might even go to I would even say maybe a Natalia at that point, right? It goes that route, then more so going through Nikki Bella's hands. If CM Punk does not leave, the women's division is changed.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think so. That's so funny. It's the what if on Punk, and we're talking about the
but it goes all together because he had his hands because of who his wife was, and because the company, his hands had to be involved in that. You know,
you know what? Got to give credit to AJ Lee. She stayed and fulfilled all of her contractual obligations, and she left. Like I said, she was never fired. She left on her own contractual obligations. She filled them and she moved on.
Yeah. Right. So here we go.
Never wrestled again. That's so weird.
And never wrestled again. This I want to move to this. So we're with Punk. He makes a big splash, drops it to Daniel Bryan. What is Punk's legacy, right? Or who's on the roster now that he influenced? If Punk stays, where's he at in 2023? And where's AEW?
Well, wait. Okay, so at some point he's gonna leave WWE.
I
was gonna say that too.
Yeah.
Champ.
I don't see him staying there forever and Hall of Fame. No.
Here's my question though: where does he go?
He goes to UFC like he wanted to. No, his contract is up.
But I don't think he ever goes to UFC.
No, he what? The money they were offering him?
Yeah, I think he does go.
I do. They offered him a lot of money.
I'm listening to you. What if when his contract is over?
All right, his contract is. He put DB over. He's fine. His wife thing is going to expire. So okay, cool. What else? He's already studying jiu-jitsu. They already offered him a hell of a lot of money. Why not do it? He goes. He has his one fight. He's still a free agent. He has his second fight. Right, he makes millions. He's writing for Marvel or whatever he's writing for. He's still doing little spots on TV show. I think he's content with sitting because he always said he wanted to retire by 35 anyway.
Yeah, you asked where is Punk by now in 2023? Punk's a Hall of Famer by now.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer, and then I think he goes to AEW. I think he still ends up where he is because the money that Tony's off, he's not going to say no to the money. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, the money that they're throwing at this guy is phenomenal. He's not going to say no. So he's a Hall of Famer. I agree. And I say he goes into the Hall of Fame before the pandemic, right?
I can see that.
I see him going in either before the pandemic or maybe, before I see him going in before the pandemic.
So hold on, let me stay right there, champ. He still loses his 2 UFC fights.
Yeah, and he's still on the contract. He was under contract for 3.
Right.
They paid him for 2, and then now they're paying him to do I think he's broadcasting for like some MMA league that's on UFC Fight Pass, so that way they can get some money out of him. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So he loses 2 fights and collects his checks.
And what was it? 2019 his contract ended for UFC. Technically, I'm gonna say technically.
Yeah, around that time they bought him. I think they bought him out, and then they bought out half, and then they gave him like some walk away money doing other things for them.
So y'all talk about pandemic? Does Punk go? I do believe he'd be in the Hall of Fame, but do you waste the pandemic Hall of Fame on CM Punk?
No.
Here's my thing.
Yeah,
here's my only thing. I don't know if Punk is removed enough from WWE by the time the pandemic happens that I don't see Punk going in a 2019. I think that's almost a little too soon. Okay. I think it would be a 2020 or 2021 or something like that.
Okay.
I think because here's the thing. Whenever it happens after UFC, I do think Punk comes back for another match or something. Or another, kind of equivalent to whatever Edge's run is right now. I think Punk comes back for something like that. Limited dates, special attraction type situation, and then Punk goes in the Hall of Fame.
True. Or he would have actually debuted for AEW or All In. When they
that's true. Yeah, or he goes the Jericho route, and that's true too.
The very first show.
Punk is the centerpiece of AEW and not Jericho.
Not Jericho.
You could also go that route too, champ. That Punk is the veteran jump starter for AEW and not Jericho. Jericho could be there,
right?
But it's built around Punk initially and not Jericho, and you get Punk and Omega or Punk and Hangman to open up as the the start for the AEW championship. Punk's the first AEW champion.
Yes.
Not Jericho.
And I can see that being more so than him going back to WWE at the time.
No, I still think he goes back to WWE for 1 or 2 matches because you got to figure, even if Punk leaves right after Mania 31, right?
Right.
That's 2015. Punk does his UFC fights. Punk comes back in 2017, let's say, and then does another year or so, maybe 2 years. That takes you right into the time period that AEW starts.
Mm-hmm.
He leaves WWE. He goes to the upstart AEW because they need a hand, and he's their first champion.
Yeah. So he ends up where he is. Well,
and then he still ends up where he is. Yep.
As we get ready to wrap this hypothetical scenario of a CM Punk, ends up where he's at. What was his legacy be for WWE? The legacy of CM Punk. If he ever turned into had not left in 2014, what are we saying about CM Punk today? The legacy that he had, impact that he had on pro wrestling.
Oh, we just said it. He's a Hall of Famer at this point.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer, but his title runs would not be as memorable as others.
And I don't think he cares as long as he gets the main event of WrestleMania. He wanted to be, I think like I said, I'm speaking for me, I feel like he wanted to be headliner more than anything else and be on that same tier of WrestleMania main eventers than the legacy of being because he was going to get the championships. He's got the championships to his name, but the legacy of being a main eventer only a handful of people. There's less than 38 or 39 people or so or whatever, or somewhere around that have been the WrestleMania main event. So,
yeah,
that I think that's where he wants to be. And like I said, we're at this point, Punk's a Hall of Fame. Maybe Punk's the one that's the head coach for NXT or head coach for the Performance Center, or or the GM of NXT or whatever. I think, but at this point, I think above all, legacy wise, Punk's a Hall of Famer for sure.
Yeah, I think he's a Hall of Famer. So, final question as we wrap this up. Here we go. Was him leaving in 2014 good for his career or bad for his career? As we see today,
it was good for his pockets.
That's yeah.
Oh, we know it was good for his pockets, but for his career, because you said the end goal was the Hall of Fame. Is him leaving in 2014 and where he's at now? Was it him leaving in 2014? Was it good for his career or not good for his career?
Hold on.
Should he have stayed? And that's my what if.
I think it was good for his career because he still has the opportunity to finish the book. Like, it's not over. If he was done, then I would say no. But it looks like for all intents and purposes that he's going to be back. And I'm looking for him to run, because this is pretty much his last run when he comes back to AEW. I look for this last run to be what will solidify him, if he does it right, amongst the greats. Like the fact that he didn't main event, a WrestleMania, and I'm looking at the main events. I'm looking at Bam Bam and Lawrence Taylor, and I see Sean's name, I see Sid's name, I see Taker, I see Austin, I see Rock, I see Jericho, I see all these people. I see Miz, I see Cena, Batista. His name is not there, and that's crazy.
Yeah. Bingo.
Look, AJ Styles has night one, from 2020. Like that's crazy that his name is not in the main event for WrestleMania.
29 was the one they missed out on. That was the one he should have been part of the main event. Should have been triple threat. I'll stand by that. Should have been triple threat.
I agree.
Yeah, I just fully believe Rock and Cena, for the billing of once in a lifetime, their loophole was right there to add Punk to it, that you didn't get the match twice in a lifetime. Like right. It did that they kept trying to spin it as, oh, well, it's for the championship, so it's a different circumstance. No, you still ran Rock versus Cena again.
Right.
You could have had Punk as a part of that.
Right. I agree. Well, there it is.
Hey, with that being said, what if CM Punk would have stayed in WWE in 2014? He would be a Hall of Famer. He would have got his WrestleMania main event, and we said in 30 with him and Daniel Bryan.
31.
Yeah, 31 with Daniel Bryan. His wife would have changed the scope of women's wrestling, the Diva era, end of the Divas era in WWE. So the ripple effect of CM Punk would have made wrestling change for the better, and he still would have been in AEW according to Champ Creed instead of Chris.
I agree with that. No, I agree.
Jericho.
I think I think Champ will agree. Punk's the centerpiece of the genesis of AEW, not Chris Jericho.
Yeah, not Jericho. Yeah, I agree.
So, ladies and gentlemen, hey, that's it for us this week. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform and join us every week as we unlock the mysteries of wrestling's greatest what-ifs. Remember to follow us on social media for updates, behind-the-scene content, and to share your own what-if scenarios with us. Thank you for joining us on this exciting journey, and we can't wait until next week as we continue to talk about the greatest what-ifs in the world of professional wrestling.